The Kingdom of Bahrain is exerting great efforts to protect and preserve the environment and natural resources. Through these efforts, the Kingdom aims to ensure the sustainability of the development process in many fields, and this has been reflected in the Constitution of the Kingdom of Bahrain and the National Action Charter through directing the efforts towards achieving the balance between the protection of the environment and the development requirements, and the alignment with Bahrain Economic Vision 2030 and the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
It is very clear that the leadership in Bahrain is taking the environment as one of the main priorities for the national government. We also has been, by the direction of His Majesty, doing a lot of projects to protect the environment with the supervision of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince and the Prime Minister. The importance of the environment on a national and international level is actually growing, especially now after the pandemic. You can see that the focus on the environment is huge, especially on the climate change matters.
In the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, member states express their commitment to protect the planet from degradation and take urgent action on climate change. The agenda identifies in its paragraph 14 climate change as one of the greatest challenges of our time, and worries about its adverse impacts undermine the ability of all countries to achieve sustainable development. Increases in global temperature, sea level rise, ocean acidification, and other climate change impacts are seriously affecting coastal areas and low-lying coastal countries.
Climate change is defined as significant changes in temperature, global temperatures, precipitation and wind patterns and others related to climate change. It usually happens over several decades or even longer. It all started with the science behind climate change. Usually Earth within the atmosphere is surrounded with particular gases called greenhouse gases. Those gases are available naturally with certain percentages around Earth, and they form as a protective blanket to protect the Earth and keep it warm, and at the same time absorb certain amount of heat coming from the sun. With the Industrial Revolution, human-made emissions increased, and they were part of the industrial, agriculture and grazing sector because of burning fossil fuel. So the amount of greenhouse gases increased within the blanket surrounding Earth, and thus introducing what we call the greenhouse effect, and leading to global warming and then particularly to climate change. Scientists in the early 19th century have noticed the relation between increase on temperature and the greenhouse gases impact. They have argued that considerably within the 60s of last century, and with the advancement of technologies, scientists had proven evidence of climate change. The international communities and the United Nations led the world to declaring the United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, which Bahrain is signatory to. This convention entered into force in 1995, and then came in the Protocol Kyoto, which entered into force in 2005. This particular Kyoto required particular instruments to achieve the convention. Paris Agreement in 2015, addressed and declared in 2015, superseded the Kyoto Protocol. Bahrain is a signatory to the Convention, Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. This is the history behind climate change and the impacts that dealt into what we call right now impacts of climate change. Of course, because of the rising in global temperature, we have experienced throughout the decades, the past decades, and now many frequent extreme events such as flooding, droughts, and storms. What is SDG 13 or Sustainable Development Goal number 13 all about? It's about climate action. In particular, it's about targeting to strengthen the resilience towards climate change, disaster-related extreme events. It's about also integrating climate change measures into policies and planning. It's about raising up national capacities and adaptive capacity to deal with planning and management of climate change. And it's about also implementing the United Nations Convention for Climate Change. It's quite important to have international cooperation towards eradicating climate change. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change states within its principle common but differentiated responsibilities the acknowledgement of all states to eradicate climate change and address it in their policies and plan, but denied the equal responsibility of these states. So every country can deal with climate change and take action towards dealing with it according to its own national capacity.
The Kingdom believes that the need to respond to climate change is incumbent on all countries under the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. The Paris commitments require a common global effort at various levels and a significant flexibility on part of developed countries to provide funding for the Global Environment Facility, GEF, and the Green Climate Fund, GCF, and to facilitate technology transfer to enable greenhouse gas reductions and avoid the adverse impacts associated with climate change.
Awareness raising is a backbone for all related matters. Awareness of Bahrainis toward climate change is quite important. It strengthens the response and support towards people, reaction to government and policies and plans. It also stimulates self-mobilization of actions and also mobilizes national knowledge and resources towards dealing with climate change. The industrial sector is very cooperative and understanding, whether it's the public sector or the private sector. We have cooperation among us. As the Supreme Council for Environment, we are very much eager to deal with climate change in particular with our different sectors. In particular, the AIAjjawi, which is the energy and water sector, have managed to integrate issues related to climate change or climate measures within its policies and plans. They have retrofitted lately the Rifa power station, and thus leading to more efficient energy from that particular station with a enormous reduction of emissions. Also, the Noga sector in 2018 established and initiated its mitigation strategy and have started working on implementing those strategies. They have a number of projects related to particularly satisfying or managing their mitigation strategy. The Ministry of Transport and Communication also have plans towards climate change and have addressed climate change concerns within their projects. One of those projects is the mass public transportation, which they are planning to implement soon. Those that are related whether to introducing train system or the metro system within Bahrain. All of these plans and others related to the private and public sectors are helping to set Bahrain on the right track. We are looking as environmentalists into more plans and projects. In order to expedite the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030 soon. Bahrain is committed to its commitment towards the Convention, the Kyoto Protocol, and the Paris Agreement. Bahrain has submitted its first national communication report in 2005, the second in 2012, and lately in August has submitted its third communication report. Bahrain also have submitted its nationally determined contribution towards the Paris Agreement. Bahrain is party to the convention, as I said. Also, Bahrain is a member within the Arab Negotiating Committee for Climate Change. This particular committee addresses the regions concerned during the Climate Change Convention, and also Bahrain is a member to the G77 plus China committee, which addresses the developing countries' concerns towards climate change within the convention. During last year, and because of the pandemic, the Supreme Council for Environment and other public entities have attended a lot of online activities and events regarding with the UNFCCC regarding addressing climate change concerns and raising up national capacities in order to prepare for the conference that is upcoming by the end of this year in Glasgow, UK. This is an important event. Within this particular conference, measurements of verification and reporting will be set, which are quite important for Bahrain.
The Kingdom will always be an effective partner that contribute to all international efforts and global collaboration in order to protect the environment, its resources and systems. This comes as part of its commitment to preserving the diversity of natural resources, ensuring the sustainability of natural balance and maintaining safe and healthy life for upcoming generations.
The government of Bahrain taking the Sustainable Development Goals very seriously. We have submitted voluntarily the achievements that the government has been done to the United Nations by 2018, and the next report we're going to submit it soon. The government has linked the government program with the SDGs to measure the KPIs of the achievements for the Sustainable Development Goals.